So many of us who keep worms do so with the best of intentions. We imagine a thriving, wriggling metropolis, diligently turning our kitchen scraps into the most beautiful, dark, and crumbly compost imaginable. Yet, the reality for many is a touch more sedate. The worms seem slow to multiply, the population never quite explodes as we had hoped, and the bin feels a little sluggish. It is a common frustration, and one that often leads gardeners down a path of purchasing expensive worm foods, special additives, and all sorts of powders and potions that promise a population boom. These products can feel like the only solution when faced with a wormery that is simply not performing. But I am here to tell you that the secret to a truly dynamic worm bin does not lie in a fancy packet. It is not about spending a great deal of money or sourcing exotic ingredients. The truth is, the most potent catalyst for rapid worm growth is already in your hands, waiting to be unlocked. The issue is not what you are feeding your worms, but how you are feeding them. Throwing in raw, chunky vegetable peelings is like asking a person to eat a raw potato. It is edible, certainly, but it takes an awful lot of work for the body to break it down and extract the nutrients. Worms are no different. They are simply waiting for their meal to be properly prepared. The common belief is that worms simply munch their way through our raw kitchen waste. While they do eventually consume it, the real magic happens with the help of microorganisms. Bacteria and fungi are the true chefs in this operation. They begin the process of decomposition, breaking down tough cellular walls and making the nutrients within the food far more accessible. When you add raw scraps directly to the bin, this entire process has to happen inside the wormery. This can lead to temperature fluctuations, potential odors, and most importantly, it slows everything down considerably. The worms must wait for the microbes to do their work before they can truly feast. This is the heart of the matter. We are asking our worms to wait for their dinner to cook inside their home. It is an inefficient system that puts a brake on their growth and reproduction. They spend more energy waiting and nibbling at the edges than they do feasting and breeding. To truly get your wormery humming, you need to change your approach. Instead of serving them raw ingredients, you need to serve them a meal that has already been partially digested by an army of beneficial microbes. This simple shift in thinking is the key to unlocking the vigorous, thriving worm bin you have always wanted, without spending a penny on so-called miracle products. The genuine secret, the little trick that transforms a slow worm bin into a bustling city, is pre-fermentation. It sounds rather scientific, but it is as natural a process as you can get. Fermentation is simply the breaking down of food by microbes in an environment with very little oxygen. Think of it as pre-digestion. You are essentially doing the initial, difficult work for the worms outside of the bin. When you present them with fermented food, you are offering them a microbe-rich, nutrient-dense slurry that is incredibly easy for them to consume and absorb. They do not have to wait. They can get straight to the banquet. This is what triggers explosive growth and rapid breeding. This process harnesses the power of the invisible world that is all around us. Beneficial bacteria and yeasts are present on the surfaces of fruit and vegetables, in the air, and in the soil. By creating the right conditions, we encourage these microorganisms to multiply and begin breaking down our kitchen scraps. They consume the simple sugars first, transforming the raw waste into a soft, slightly acidic, and biologically active superfood. This is far more appealing to a worm than a hard chunk of carrot or a tough cabbage core. It is the equivalent of a nutritious, easy-to-digest soup, and the worms absolutely adore it. Consider the logic of it. A worm has no teeth. It relies on its muscular gizzard to grind food, but this is far more effective when the food is already soft. By fermenting the scraps, you are turning tough vegetable matter into a soft pulp. More importantly, you are cultivating a massive population of the very same bacteria that live inside a worm's gut and help it to digest its food. You are not just providing a meal, you are providing a meal complete with its own digestive aids. This biological boost means the worms can process food much faster, absorb more nutrients, and convert that energy directly into growth and reproduction. The benefits are immediate and obvious. When you feed fermented material to your worms, you will notice they swarm to it. They will dive in with an enthusiasm you simply do not see with raw scraps. Because the food is pre-digested, it disappears from the bin in a fraction of the time. This rapid consumption prevents problems like foul odors, excess moisture, and the attraction of pests, which can occur when raw food sits around decaying slowly. It is a cleaner, faster, and infinitely more effective way to manage your wormery, and most importantly, to encourage your worms to thrive. Making this superfood for your worms is wonderfully simple and requires no special equipment. All you need is a bucket with a lid, your regular kitchen scraps, and a source of carbon. Start with a standard bucket, perhaps an old paint tub or a food-grade pail. The lid is important as it helps to create the low-oxygen environment that fermentation loves. Into this bucket, you will place your kitchen waste. Things like vegetable peelings, fruit cores, coffee grounds, and tea bags are all perfect. To really speed things up, chop these scraps into smaller pieces. The smaller they are, the more surface area there is for the microbes to get to work. Next, you must balance your greens with browns. This is a fundamental rule of composting, and it applies here too. For every part of green kitchen scraps you add, you should aim to add roughly an equal amount of brown carbon material. This could be shredded cardboard, torn up newspaper, dry autumn leaves, or even a bit of sawdust. This carbon provides energy for the microbes, prevents the mixture from becoming a smelly, slimy mess, and helps to absorb excess moisture. Mix the greens and browns together in your bucket. This simple step ensures a more balanced and efficient fermentation process. To give your ferment a little kickstart, you can add an inoculant. This simply means adding a source of the good microbes you want to encourage. There is no need to buy anything special. A scoop of rich garden soil or a handful of finished compost from a previous batch is teeming with the life you need. Alternatively, a small glug of unsulfured molasses, diluted in a little water, provides a burst of simple sugars that will get the bacteria and yeasts working almost immediately. Give the contents of the bucket a good stir. Add just enough water to make it damp like a wrung-out sponge and put the lid on. Now, you simply wait. Place the bucket in a shed, a garage, or a discreet corner of the garden for anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks. The exact time depends on the temperature. It will be faster in summer and slower in winter. You will know it is ready when it has a slightly sweet, tangy, pickle-like smell. It should not smell rotten or putrid. The contents will have softened and darkened, and you will have created a perfect, microbe-rich feast. This bucket system allows you to collect scraps over a week or so, fermenting them into the ideal consistency before you add them to the wormery. Once your fermented mixture is ready, it is time to feed your worms. The golden rule here is to bury the food. Never simply spread it on the surface. Doing so can attract flies and other unwanted visitors. Instead, use a small trowel or your hand to pull back a section of the worm bedding in one corner of the bin. Create a small pocket or trench and deposit a modest amount of your fermented feed into it. Then, carefully cover the food back over with the bedding. This keeps the food moist, dark, and accessible only to your worms, who will quickly migrate towards this delicious new offering. The quantity and frequency of feeding are crucial. It is far better to offer small, regular meals than to dump a huge amount of food in at once. A large feed, even of fermented material, can overwhelm the system. A good starting point is to feed them an amount they can comfortably finish in 2 to 3 days. For your next feeding, choose a different corner of the bin. By rotating the feeding spots, you encourage the worms to move throughout the entire bin, which helps to aerate the bedding and process all the material evenly. This practice ensures all the bedding is gradually turned into valuable castings. Maintaining the right bedding moisture and structure is just as important as the food itself. Your wormery bedding should feel like a damp sponge, moist to the touch, but not dripping wet when you squeeze it. Pre-soaked, shredded cardboard is one of the best materials for this. It holds moisture brilliantly and provides the fluffy, aerated structure that worms need to move and breathe. As you harvest castings, always remember to top up the bin with fresh, damp bedding to maintain the volume. This gives the worms a healthy and stable environment in which to live and breed. Now, a quick word on animal manure. Well-rotted manure from herbivores like rabbits, goats, or horses can be a fantastic addition. However, it must be properly composted first, as fresh manure can heat up and harm your worms. A great technique is to mix a small amount of aged manure into your fermentation bucket along with the kitchen scraps. This incorporates it safely into the system, adding a huge diversity of nutrients and microbes. The fermentation process will integrate it perfectly, creating an even richer and more potent food source for your rapidly growing worm population. By embracing this simple method of pre-fermentation, you are aligning with a natural process. You are not fighting against nature, you are working with it. You are becoming a facilitator, a chef for your underground workforce, preparing their food in a way that maximizes its nutritional value and digestibility. This shortcut is not a chemical trick or an expensive gimmick. It is a biological principle. By letting microbes do the initial hard work, you free up the worms to do what they do best: eat, grow, and reproduce. It is a harmonious system that leads to a healthier, more productive worm bin. The key to success is consistency. Small, frequent feedings of this pre-digested food will create a stable, reliable environment where the worm population can confidently expand. They learn that there is always a fresh, easy-to-eat meal just around the corner. This security is a powerful trigger for reproduction. You are removing the famine part of the feast and famine cycle that often occurs in slowly managed bins. Instead, you are providing a steady, dependable feast, and the worms will respond with vigorous growth and a surprising increase in their numbers in a relatively short space of time. Do not be intimidated by the idea of fermentation. It is a forgiving process. There is no need for precise measurements or complicated science. Simply follow the steps. Chop your scraps, mix with carbon, add a starter, and let it sit. Your nose will tell you when it is ready. This small amount of effort, performed just once a week or so, will pay you back tenfold. You will see more worms, fatter worms, and a faster conversion of waste into the black gold that is vermicompost. Your plants will thank you for the rich, nutrient-dense castings you will be harvesting more regularly. So, I encourage you to give it a try. Set up a small bucket this weekend. Start collecting your scraps and mixing them with a bit of cardboard. In a week or two, you will have your first batch of fermented worm food. Bury it in your bin and watch what happens. I am quite certain you will be amazed at the response. You will see for yourself that the secret to a teeming wormery is not in a packet you buy, but in the simple, natural, and wonderfully effective power of fermentation. It is a small change in your routine that will bring about a magnificent change in your garden.